It's good, y'all. Fuzion here, back with another reaction video. Today we're going to be reacting to some NBA on ESPN, some NBA Today, and the Warriors and Kuminga are having some issues. It seems like they're not trying to pay the man. It seems like he's might possibly be asking for a lot. We'll see with these next coming days on what the Warriors are going to do. Now the main question is, can Jonathan Kuminga help the Warriors get another ring? The answer is yes. So I do have his stats pulled up here. Last year he was averaging 15, 5, and 2. He'll get a steal a game, and he's somewhat getting closer to those blocks a game. But you're seeing a solid stealing stat for him. Considering on his position, he is playing the small forward, power forward role. The problem is, I feel like his gameplay does not fit exactly on what the Warriors were trying to do last year. So I'm hoping this year, if they do keep him, they can make him be one of their scorers. He's a solid slasher. He can get into the paint. He shot 45% from the field, 31 from 3. He had a sort of struggle by scoring the basketball. But I also think he was not put in the correct positions to score the ball and to what he does well. So when you have a player like him who is mostly a slasher, someone who can hit the backdoor cuts, who could post up, who has a lot of ways to score the ball, you need someone who is willing to get him the ball, and you also need to set him up with plays or garbage plays for him to score. 15 points a game is a great point, especially if you are not the primary scorer. I do think he was coming off the bench quite a bit, so I think that could also be updated and changed. Now, that being said, with Jimmy Butler, with Steph, with Draymond, and just how that team is currently looking, there's not a lot of consistent offense coming from that. So obviously, Steph is going to get his. You don't know if you're going to get a scoring Jimmy Butler, a pass first Jimmy Butler. Somebody wants to defending Jimmy Butler. There's way too many what ifs when it comes to what type of player that Jimmy Butler will be for this Warriors team. Now, I think that the Warriors have what they need to get to the playoffs and be competitive, but I don't know if they have a championship winning roster. They need to decide on if they're going to keep Kuminga, or are they going to continue with his development? Is he going to get better? What will we be able to do to supplement his growth? That is what they should be focusing on now. Be it more shot attempts, some plays set up for him, running some easy pick and rolls, for him to get his baskets. I think he's 6. What is he? Yeah, he's a 6'8", small forward, power forward, and he's pretty athletic. So there should be some plays or some movement or something for him, that's specific for him that he could play off of. So I hope that the Warriors can figure it out. I personally don't want to see him leave, because I think that there is a skill set that I think that the Warriors can definitely take advantage of, and what he does bring to a team. So let's go ahead and watch this video. We're not going to watch the full one. I pretty much just want to really talk about the contract negotiations, maybe see what Draymond Green has to say, and then probably skip to up here. So there's going to be a lot of skipping on this video. Hopefully I don't get hit with no ads. But yes, let's go ahead and get started.
Developing story in Golden State. Contract negotiations between restricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors. They were at a little bit of a stalemate here after the Warriors offered a 3-year, $75 million deal last week. This is all according to our Anthony Slater and Shams Charania. You can read more about this on ESPN.com. But joining us now is Anthony Slater. And Slater, I'm curious, at this point, just a couple of weeks away from training camp, what's the holdup now?
Yeah, I actually talked to Aaron Turner, Jonathan Kuminga's agent, this morning, and the messaging they're adopting this week is turn the TO to a PO and it's done. And that messaging is generally saying if it's a team option on that 3-year deal you mentioned, 74-ish million, if that's suddenly a player option, not only will Jonathan Kuminga sign it, they're saying, but he will be completely bought in on the mission that they're asking of him, which is, using Turner's messaging, that is to get Steph Curry and Draymond Green a 5th ring, Jimmy Butler his 1st ring, and that's an understanding of him that it's a show of goodwill if they send it to a player option for what they're calling years of confusion over his role, and a willingness to suppress some of his personal ambitions, which are obviously very much a part of the holdup here, accept what's probably going to be a bench role, what's probably going to be fluctuating minutes, and accepting what will very likely be a tradable contract. As they've mentioned, they've compared the deal to,
and that is I think that's the problem. You grew and molded Kuminga to become what he is now, which is in my opinion, a Julius Randle player with more upside than Julius Randle. I think that Julius Randle is a great player. He needs to learn how to take a breath sometimes. Sometimes he will force a shot. Sometimes he will take an ill-advised jump shot. Sometimes he will do stuff where I'm just like, it's not a great idea or a great shot selection. Like, Jonathan Kuminga is already doing what Julius Randle does better, but he's not getting enough time to really showcase what he has. Which sucks, because if the plan for this Warriors team is to make it to the championship, make it to the finals, be a finals contending team, they're going to need Kuminga. And him riding the bench, him getting minutes every so often, him getting 10 minutes here, 30 minutes here, 15 here, 20 here, and he's a star in the making, that's going to affect him mentally and will cause the team to lose. I mean, you already got rid of Jordan Poole, who had a solid upside, and I think if, of course, the Jordan Poole and the Draymond Green situation happened, whatever, they could not ever coexist after that. But if they would have learned how to slow Jordan Poole down, take better shots, but also try to keep his volume shooting integrity, that would have been your volume scorer, somebody off the bench that could score and help. That could be another player where Jimmy Butler can take off his offensive hat and try to pass the ball, try to be that point forward role that he enjoys doing. But now it is forcing him to be a scorer. And when you have someone like Kuminga who is raring and ready to be that scorer for you, or even wanting to attempt to be that scorer, and you still don't give him the chance, it's just going to look bad. And I can understand why why Jonathan Kuminga feels this way, why he is possibly also causing this delay, because I'm sure there are teams that could use a player like him and will not waste his waste his age and his minutes and his time. There are teams like that. He just needs to go to the right one. Let's go ahead and push a little bit. I want to see what Draymond Green has to say here. So I'm just going to skip ahead just a little bit.
It also makes a lot of sense here for Jonathan Kuminga. Slater, one thing you and I have been talking about is what impact this could have on the team, on the locker room, on a group that is trying to pursue yet another championship in the Steph Curry era. And Draymond Green, he weighed in on all of this on social media yesterday. He was pretty optimistic. He said negotiations are rarely easy, which is true, but they usually get done in the end. So that's what Draymond's saying. Where do things actually stand internally with the team waiting to see how this plays out?
Yeah, I would describe the veterans as calm and confident. Calm because they know the roster that's coming after the Kuminga domino, which we've talked about. You know, large expectation is Al Horford will be their starting center. That's important to them. And confident because Jimmy Butler apparently is, worked out really well this summer. Steph Curry's healthy. They think they can be good this season. Their curiosity, as I mentioned to you last week, is on the buy-in of Jonathan Kuminga. And right now, Kuminga's side is essentially saying, if you care about, the now, if the major priority is the Steph Curry this season, next season window to try to win a title, give Jonathan Kuminga control of his 2027-28 season. Because right now what the Warriors are offering, and they've been steadfast, no player option. They want the team option in the third season. They're saying if you give Kuminga the player option,
do they need him to be? Because we're talking a lot on this show about a player who has had spot minutes.
Yeah, sorry like to skip, but Homeboy was boring the hell out of me. It's like the contract talk, I feel like is a important talk, an important conversation that can be had, and I think does hold weight when you are talking about certain players. This isn't a contract issue, I think, with the Warriors. I think that Kuminga has such an upside that they see a possibility of a great player possibly walking away because they're being greedy and not understanding that this Warriors team needs a change. They should have had a big change last year, which they did by adding Jimmy Butler, but it still wasn't enough. Steph Curry is older. Jimmy Butler is older. Draymond Green is older. And then you picked up another player, Horford, who is older. When in reality, you should be getting younger. Now, their young big that they had last year, I cannot remember his name. He's a solid player. He's a solid athlete. He does what the Warriors need perfectly. Now, will he be able to grow as a player and learn from Al Horford? We'll see there. But I think at the end of the day, Jonathan Kuminga can help this Warriors team win. Jonathan Kuminga has the ability. It seems like he wants to win. He seems like he wants to play well. He wants to play good. He wants to help this team any way that he can. Unfortunately, I do think that the Warriors are holding that back. Be it price range, be it they are waiting to see if there's something better out there that they can make a move for, be it they're just super stuck on their style of play that they are trying to find another three-point shooter. Just whatever the case may be, they need to not let this guy go. They need to figure it out because he's going to help them win games.
For the Golden State Warriors.
Howdy, Malika. Spot minutes is a nice way to say this dude had 4 DNP CDs in the first round of the playoffs. Do they need him as a player? No, clearly not. They need him as an insurance policy. They need him as a trade asset. He understands that. That's why he is trying to get as much control in that contract as he possibly can. And right now, turn a TO into a PO. Right now, it's just PO.
I like that.
So, that's where they stand. But as a player, they don't need him as an insurance policy, a trade asset. They clearly want him there.
But some context to those DMPs. Remember in the postseason, he was basically told he would not have that much of a role.
That's
then
right.
Steph goes down, and now it's like, oh, well, you're here, and then you have no rhythm to go out there and produce. That's why I look at the regular season. They were third, I believe, in bench scoring, the Golden State Warriors. That's largely because of Jonathan Kuminga averaging around 15 points per game. He was their third best option when it comes to their final roster in scoring. So, I just don't like the oscillation back and forth because going into training camp, this is a team where we used to say, like, strength in numbers, all family and all those types of things. The last few years, they've had a little bit of drama in the preseason, and I'm underselling it.
Yeah.
Like, they need to be able to sort this situation out. And if it means giving him a player option, I don't think that should be a deal breaker for the Golden State Warriors. I understand that you want to maintain as much control as you can, but you need this guy to compete. Because if you look at the landscape of the West, so many teams are getting so much better. Look at the...
And that's all it is. Now, I hate that he's saying that the only reason that they should keep Jonathan Kuminga is because he is a trade asset. Yes, he would be a great trade asset, and I think that a team would want him. But if you're the Warriors, again, you look at your roster, and then you look at what's going on in the East and in the West, athletic, tall guys are in, Small forwards and power forwards who can move, who can catch a lob, who can do what they can do with or without the ball, that is in right now. So you need somebody like that on your team who, if you are actively trying to win games, have him play a little bit more defense, teach him a better defensive role, to put him into those positions, to use that athleticism, put him on, players that may be too big or too tall for Steph, and Jimmy Butler is already having to guard somebody. Draymond Green is already having to guard the big. You have another athletic guy to play. You could have a starting roster of Steph, Jimmy, Kuminga, Draymond, and Al Horford. You could have him coming off of the bench and playing large minutes with him and Moody. There's a way to use this guy, to use that 15 points a game, to use his athleticism, to use a backdoor scoring small forward. There is a need for that. And it seems like nobody feels like going to the Warriors right now. It seems like that the Warriors are having trouble using this trade asset, which in reality shouldn't be on the chopping block. He should not be. But I think that the Warriors have been trying to go through a rebuild. Well, no, they've been trying to cheat a rebuild, where I feel like that they should have just wiped the slate clean if they were having all this trouble, and then gone from there. But they really wanted to keep what little 3-point shooting knockdown that they have now, and still trying to be a 3-point shooting team. You need to adjust. You have Jimmy Butler who can attack. You have the Kuminga player who can attack. Steph Curry, he can shoot the three. He can attack as well. He's getting older, so you would prefer him not to be on the attack as far as going into the paint, like for layups and shit. Whatever. But he has that ability too. And teams have adjusted on how to guard the Warriors. We're seeing it. We're seeing that the Warriors are, be it like their roster isn't as good as it was, or teams are just getting better and more athletic. That's how you deal with a 3-point shooting team. Put hella athletes out there and get in their jersey. Now, the shoe's on the other foot. You have a young athletic guy you are willing to part ways with to possibly get another piece to push you over the edge, when I feel like this piece right here is perfectly fine. But that's business. I hope it works out. I'd take him on the Lakers. He'd be a solid big guy who can play the Rui Hachimura role when Rui Hachimura is too scared to be Rui Hachimura. There's a lot of teams who could use an athletic, small, or it's a good sized athletic forward. There's a lot of teams that could use that. So hopefully they can figure it out. Hopefully they don't waste and Jonathan Kuminga doesn't waste what he has and what he has learned to grow with. It would suck. It would suck. That's pretty much all I got for you guys today. Tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. What teams could Jonathan Kuminga help out on? I think it'd be nice to see him in Miami, a place where showmanship is important. Lakers, Clippers. I feel like he would work well with a veteran point guard or a veteran team where it's all about running and going and quick shots and all that type of shit. I think he would work well there. But yeah, peace.